The day I loaded my life into a car headed across the causeway, I told myself it was just for better career opportunities, just for a few years, just to gain experience before coming back home. That was the story I rehearsed for relatives who asked why I was leaving, for friends who felt a little betrayed, for myself when doubt crept in at 2 a.m. But here's what I've learned after making that 1-hour journey that somehow feels like crossing into another dimension. Leaving Malaysia for Singapore isn't just about changing your address or upgrading your salary. It's about confronting uncomfortable truths about ambition, identity, and what you're willing to sacrifice for a life that looks better on paper but feels complicated in your chest. Thousands of Malaysians make this move every year, some commuting daily across that congested bridge, others relocating entirely, and almost everyone discovers that Singapore offers everything Malaysia doesn't, except the one thing that might matter most. Let's be brutally honest about why Malaysians leave. Started with a reason nobody wants to admit at family dinners, but everyone understands. The salary difference isn't just significant, it's life-changing. A fresh graduate in Kuala Lumpur might earn 2,800 ringgit monthly, struggling to save anything after rent, car payments, and basic expenses. That same person in Singapore could start at 3,500 to 4,500 Singapore dollars, which converts to roughly 12,000 to 16,000 ringgit. Even accounting for Singapore's higher cost of living, you're still ahead, sometimes significantly so. Mid-career professionals see even wider gaps. A marketing manager making 8,000 ringgit in KL could command 7,000 to 9,000 Singapore dollars across the border, suddenly affording a lifestyle that felt impossible back home. For skilled professionals, especially in finance, tech, and engineering, Singapore doesn't just pay better, it pays in a currency that holds its value and opens doors globally. The meritocracy story that Singapore tells itself isn't completely true, but it's truer than what most Malaysians experience back home. In Malaysia, conversations about promotions and opportunities inevitably brush against uncomfortable realities about race, connections, and whose uncle knows which minister. You watch less qualified people advance because they went to the right school or belong to the right community, and you smile and accept it because that's just how things work. Singapore's system isn't perfect. It has its own elite networks and biases, but the playing field feels more level. Your resume matters more than your last name. Your results speak louder than your father's golf club membership. When you get promoted, people assume you earned it rather than wondering who you know. For talented Malaysians tired of hitting invisible ceilings, this shift feels like oxygen after being underwater. The efficiency is intoxicating, almost addictive, in ways you don't appreciate until you experience it. Government services that would take weeks of multiple visits and mysterious processing times in Malaysia happen in hours or days in Singapore. Want to register a business? Done online in 15 minutes. Need to resolve a tax issue? The government portal actually works, and customer service respond helpfully. Public transportation runs on time, not on Malaysian time. When it rains, you don't wonder if your street will flood. When you report a problem, it gets fixed rather than becoming someone's side income opportunity. This operational excellence seeps into everything. Restaurants serve you quickly. Deliveries arrive when promised. Systems work as designed. You didn't realize how much mental energy you spend in Malaysia navigating inefficiency and corruption until suddenly you don't have to anymore. But here's where the truth gets uncomfortable, where the gleaming surface of Singapore life starts showing its cracks. The cost of living isn't just higher. It's structured to keep you on a treadmill you can't escape. Sure, you earn more, but a basic HDB flat that you can actually afford requires a decade-long wait and remains prohibitively expensive. Private rentals consume obscene portions of your income. A car isn't just expensive. It's so financially rational that only the wealthy are foolish by one, with certificates of entitlement costing more than luxury vehicles cost in other countries. You eat at hawker centers to save money, but even those costs double what Malaysian hawkers charge. Every aspect of life has been optimized for maximum efficiency and maximum extraction. You're earning well, but somehow still feeling stretched, still calculating, still unable to relax into the financial comfort you imagined the salary would bring. The social pressure and competitive culture in Singapore operates at an intensity that can break you if you're not prepared. Everyone is hustling, optimizing, networking, upgrading. Conversations revolve around property investments, which district you live in, where your children go to school, and what your last bonus looked like. There's an exhausting performative quality to it all, where rest feels like falling behind and contentment looks like lack of ambition. Malaysians arrive expecting to work hard, but discover that Singapore demands you perform your productivity, signal your value, and treat your entire life as a resume-building exercise. The famous Malaysian laid-back attitude that drove you crazy back home suddenly feels like a loss, like you've traded your ability to just exist the privilege of constantly proving yourself worthy of existing here. Then there's a cultural displacement that nobody warns you about. The way being Malaysian in Singapore puts you in a strange liminal space. You're not foreign enough to be exotic, not local enough to fully belong. Singaporeans will hire you, work with you, even befriend you, but there's often an undercurrent of subtle condescension, a sense that Malaysia is the chaotic, inefficient cousin that Singapore evolved beyond. You'll hear jokes about Malaysian drivers, Malaysian inefficiency, Malaysian corruption, delivered with smiles that don't quite reach the eyes. Your accent gets commented on, your Manglish corrected, your nostalgia for home food dismissed, because Singapore has better versions of everything, doesn't it? You start code switching more aggressively, sanding down the Malaysian edges of yourself to fit in, and something valuable gets lost in that polishing process. The realization hits hardest when you go home for visits and feel like a stranger in your own country. Your friends still earning Malaysian salaries can't afford the restaurants you now consider normal. You've gotten used to things working properly and find yourself irritated by Malaysian inefficiency that you once accepted as part of life's texture. You complain about the heat more, the traffic more, the chaos more. Your family treats you differently, half proud and half resentful, asking for money or favors, but also making pointed comments about how you've changed, how you're very Singapore now. You're not fully Malaysian anymore, but you're definitely not Singaporean. Floating in between, belonging nowhere completely, and the loneliness of that hits harder than you'd ever admit. The food culture reveals the deepest truth about what you've traded. Yes, Singapore has incredible food, including excellent Malaysian dishes prepared by Malaysian chefs for Malaysian customers. But something essential is missing. In Malaysia, food is social, communal, stretched across hours at mammoth stalls where nobody rushes you, where uncles and aunties know your order, where meals dissolve into conversations that dissolve into more meals. In Singapore, efficiency penetrates even eating. People queue precisely, eat quickly, clear tables promptly. The hawker centers are clean and organized and somehow soulless. You can get amazing char QETO, but you'll eat it at a sterile food court under fluorescent lights, surrounded by people scrolling phones, and it tastes technically perfect but emotionally hollow. You didn't realize how much of Malaysian food's magic came from its context, its messiness, its refusal to be optimized. Career growth hits a ceiling you didn't see coming. Yes, the opportunities are better than Malaysia initially, but Singapore's job market is brutally competitive and increasingly protectionist. You're competing against talents from China, India, the Philippines, Vietnam, and everywhere else, all fighting for positions in a tiny country with limited space at the top. Companies hire Malaysians for mid-level roles, but reserve senior leadership for Singaporeans or Ongmos. Work passes get harder to renew. Policies shift to favor locals. And you realize you're on a treadmill where you need to keep proving your value or get sent home. The permanent residency process is opaque and frustrating. And even if you get, citizenship remains virtually unattainable for most. You're building a career in a country that treats you as a temporary resource, not a future citizen. The environmental and spatial differences affect you in ways that feel superficial until they accumulate into existential weight. Singapore is relentlessly urban, an air-conditioned island where nature has been manicured into submission. There are parks and reserves, but they're curated, controlled, fundamentally artificial. You can't drive 2 hours into jungle that feels genuinely wild. You can't escape to a beach that isn't crowded and managed. The island's smallness starts feeling claustrophobic. In Malaysia, space exists, possibility exists, the sense that you could just drive somewhere and discover something unplanned. Singapore's excellence comes with containment, and after years of containment, something in you starts suffocating even as your bank account grows. Yet despite everything, many Malaysians stay, not because Singapore is better, but because going back feels impossible. You've adapted to the efficiency and can't imagine navigating Malaysian bureaucracy again. You've gotten used to the salary and can't fathom the lifestyle downgrade. You've built a life here, made friends, established routines, invested years into a career that won't transfer back home easily. Your Malaysian friends and family expect you to have money now, to help out, to bankroll gatherings when you visit. The Malaysia you left has changed, and so have you, and the fantasy of a triumphant return where everything slots back perfectly is just that, a fantasy. You're stuck in between, earning well but feeling empty, successful but displaced, better off on paper, but worse off in ways that don't show up on spreadsheets. The truth about leaving Malaysia for Singapore isn't that one country is better or worse. It's that you're trading one set of problems for another set of problems, one kind of ceiling for a different kind of ceiling, one type of belonging for a particular kind of alienation. Singapore offers efficiency, meritocracy, and money at the cost of soul, space, and home. Malaysia offers warmth, possibility, and belonging at the cost of frustration, inequality, and limited opportunities. Some Malaysians thrive in Singapore's structure and never look back. Others return home after years, gladly accepting lower salaries for feeling a belonging somewhere. Most exist in the middle, going through the motions, building careers, sending money home, visiting during festivals, and quietly wondering if the trade-off was worth it. This is a new channel dedicated to the real, unfiltered stories of Malaysians navigating life both at home and abroad. The complicated truths that don't fit neatly into Malaysia bold pride or Singapore better narratives. If this resonated with you, whether you made the move to Singapore, you're considering it, you've returned home, or you're just trying to understand why so many talented Malaysians leave, your support helps me explore more of these complex, honest stories. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more real talk about Malaysian life and identity. And drop a comment, share your own experience with leaving, staying, or returning. Let's build a community where we can talk honestly about ambition, sacrifice, belonging, and what home really means when you're chasing opportunities that take you away from it.